We've all done it, tied the laces in our football boots, and I'll bet you that 99% of the time they were tied in that one conventional way. But what if I tell you that there are better ways to tie your laces for football? I mean, the original way isn't bad, but you can actually drastically improve your performance and your comfort, or actually even both, if you just spend a little bit of time and effort in adjusting your laces even just a little bit. So in today's video, I'm gonna give you 6 different ways of tying your laces for football, and because I've actually tested them all extensively, I can also let you in on the secret so you know which ones to use and which one to just simply forget. First up, I've brought in the so-called runner's loop, which I know I've talked a lot about in the past, but it's because I really feel it's something every footballer needs to know. It's basically the master trick to rule them all. But laces in general these days are typically used to keep your foot securely locked inside of the boot. But if you use the OG normal lacing technique, you don't get at least 100% effectiveness in terms of locking the heel securely and firmly inside the heel counter to prevent your foot from moving. And also, the laces have a tendency to come undone because you don't have any specific areas where the laces kind of lock themselves. And this is where the runner's loop comes in to kind of fix that problem, because the runner's loop aims to fixate the midfoot and also really push the heel and firmly secure it inside the heel counter to make sure it eliminates as much movement inside the boot as possible. And also, it's going to create those lace locks to prevent the laces from coming undone all on their own. Now, the way to actually do the runner's loop is to use the OG standard lacing, but when you come to the second to last lace hole, instead of going across to the other side like you would in the standard lacing system, you actually stay on the same side and then you go up to the last lace hole, put the tip in and back out if you need to create this little loop. Then you take the tip, you go through the loop on the other side of the boot, and you do the same thing with the other tip, go inside the loop here, because voila! Then you now have the very effective runner's loop lace lock, which gives you a better fit, it gives you fewer blisters because there's not a lot of movement inside the boot, and as you can see, it gives you very effective lockdown in that area. For me, it's simple, it's easy to do, and it just works, making it a 10 out of 10. Now, another way to create lockdown is if you have slightly longer laces like on the Furon V6 here, or alternatively the old Copa Mundials where the laces were really long. But anyway, here you can actually take the laces and go under the boot to create a kind of band of laces to really fixate your midfoot in place. And of course, I've tried it and it works, I would say, to some extent. You create the lockdown, you actually get a relatively firm, secure fit. But also the laces have to be kind of long for this to work, so you can actually tie a knot afterwards. And also the fact that the laces are sitting under the boot, meaning that they get a lot of abrasion, also makes it a little rough on the laces themselves. But it's a great, slightly old school technique that simply just works pretty well. 7 out of 10. I've also seen people actually lacing their boots by taking the last bit and then looping it around the heel and just underneath the ankle bone for lockdown purposes, basically by ensuring that all the pressure coming from the last bit of the laces goes towards the back and the heel part of the boot to get that proper secure heel lockdown. And I've tried it myself a couple of times, and to be completely honest, I haven't really felt that much of a benefit from either a lockdown and actually also not from a stability point of view, because let's be honest, you don't get much ankle support from a thin pair of laces. And on top of all this, if you tie the loop a little bit too tightly, you're gonna shut off some of the blood flow to your foot, making it potentially really uncomfortable. So personally, I'd probably stay away from this method. 4 out of 10. Next up, we have the system I would call the reverse lacing system, which is actually something I've adopted from my good friend Josh at SR4U, so big up Josh, and something you can do if you have a modern boot with double lace holes. See, it compares to the normal OG lacing system in the sense that here you go inside out. So you go into the first hole and out of the second of the double holes. But it also kind of has a problem with the laces losing tension throughout the match, as we saw. And to kind of fix that, on the reverse system, you want to go outside in. So you want to go into the second hole and then out of the first hole, because then when you pull your laces tight, you create a much stronger lock for each of the lace holes, giving you a much more even and solid pressure throughout the entire match that won't lose tension as much. So you get a classic system, but with much better hold that simply just works. 9 out of 10. Now for the next one, I'm not actually sure if anyone has played like this ever, but here I kind of thought, I'm a little bit sick of the knot sitting on the outside of the boot and kind of being in the way. So I thought if I go with a reverse system, but instead of pulling the laces out of the last hole, I want to keep it inside. So I want to fold the tongue down, and then I basically just lace up my boots with the knot like I normally would, tie them up, and then I can kind of tuck the knot to the side on the inside, and it actually works pretty well. It feels nice and clean, but on the other hand, if you're unlucky, the knot can also create an unpleasant pressure point. So give it a go if you want. It might work for you, and it also might not. It depends on your preferences, so 7 out of 10. Lastly, I've seen a few people trying to copy Dani Alves's lacing style, which is actually pretty good if you have a big, wide, or really chunky foot and you need that extra bit of space for comfort in the forefoot. So what you're gonna do here, as you can see, is you leave the forefoot completely untouched and then start lacing up from the top 3, or if you're really desperate, top 2 lace holes to give that little bit of fixation to the midfoot that will at least make this better than if you go completely laceless. Of course, you're still gonna compromise a lot on lockdown, so I'd only do this if you really need it for comfort purposes, or if you're just very, very desperate to try and get that laceless sensation. So otherwise you'd just be throwing performance out the window for no apparent reason. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 if you have big chunky feet and need it, and 3 out of 10 if you don't need it. So there you have it, my friends, 6 different lacing techniques where you should definitely try at least a few of them to see what works the best for you. But do you even care about the way you lace your boots? And in case, what is your favorite method? As always, let us know in the comment section right down below. Of course, don't forget to go subscribe to the channel with the notifications on, and then go upgrade to some wicked new football boots you can try your new lacing systems on via the link right over there. With that said, guys, I'm signing off. Cheerio.